This is not good. So the merge just happened, and give me a second here. Ethereum already showing signs of increased centralization. In hours following the merge, just two platforms added 40% of the network's blocks. In the hours following the Ethereum, or the long-awaited Ethereum merge to proof of stake, on Thursday, over 40% of the network's blocks were added by just two entities, Coinbase and Lido. The shift from proof of work to proof of stake was framed by developers as a way to defeat centralization on the second largest blockchain network by making it harder for individual entities to tamper with Ethereum ledger. But early signs of the network consolidation have raised concerns that those hopes may not come to pass. Out of the last 1,000 blocks, 420 of them have been built by just Lido and Coinbase. Martin Kopelman, co-founder of Gnosis, an Ethereum infrastructure firm, wrote in a tweet. In his thread, Kopelman mentioned that just 7 players who own more than 2/3 of the stake on Ethereum's proof-of-stake network, the key measure of network power under the new miner-free system, Lido, a kind of community-led staking collective, and Coinbase, the world's third largest crypto exchange, own 27% and 14.5% of the network's stake, respectively. Ethereum's long-awaited merge to proof-of-stake was successfully completed at 6:42 UTC on Thursday morning. The new system invites so-called validators to stake 32 ETH, with the platform granting them ability to write and confirm transactions to the Ethereum ledger. The high capital requirement, $50,000 at press time, along with the technical difficulty of setting up a validator system, means that only a few people are able to become validators on their own. As a result, ETH has flowed to services offered by Coinbase, Lido, and other staking pools that allow users to become validators and earn rewards for doing so without much of a hassle. So much money going to so few services has sparked concerns. If a single entity controls more than 66% of the network's staked Ether, it will be able to make it more difficult for others to write transactions to Ethereum's ledger. Fears of validator centralization became more prescient last month after the U.S. government sanctions raised questions around whether validators might be forced to censor transactions coming from certain blockchain addresses. Some, though not all, U.S.-based validators have announced that they will begin to ignore transactions from the sanctioned Tornado Cash Mixer program, meaning it might be more difficult for those transactions to make it onto Ethereum's decentralized ledger. Oh man, this is so bad, guys. We are basically looking at everything we feared about this transition. And you guys know, I said we need Ethereum transition to proof of stake to go smoothly. We don't want this to be bad, but this is, you know, I've been talking about that fork in the road of going towards like a controlled, basically tyrannical version of finance, led by, of course, blockchain or freedom with something like Bitcoin. And I it's starting to feel inevitable that we're going the wrong way. It just sucks. This is a consolidation, and consolidation equals centralization. And that is very dangerous. Why? Because exchanges are under control, government control. Without question, the Ethereum blockchain is now subject to transaction censorship, Chris Terry, an executive at SmartFi, a crypto lending platform, said to CoinDesk. Fears of centralization have led some to compare ETH under proof of stake to precisely the sorts of centralized fiat currencies that blockchains sought to circumvent. ETH is now exclusively created digitally by set parameters under the control of its central planners. Max Gagliardi, co-founder of Ankova, wrote in a tweet. We are at the point to where, you know, it almost feels like a point of no return. We should completely refuse the Ethereum ecosystem. If you want to participate in DeFi, do it on the Ergo blockchain. Pull everything out of the Ethereum blockchain. Do not support them. absolutely just stop supporting Ethereum from the get-go and do not utilize them. That is pretty much where we're at. We cannot let this continue. We're in a position to where you use it and you support centralization. And frankly, you support like essentially what will end up being utilized to enforce a fascistic government. And that is basically and potentially a fascistic one world government. Okay. And it doesn't get any better though. So, okay. So we could say, all right, well, okay. It has the potential because it's centralized and these entities have control. It has the potential for the government to take control of it, but the government won't do that, right? The government's not going to do that. Wrong. Already, we have Mr. Gensler coming out. They are ready to do this, boys. Ether new staking model could draw SEC attention. SEC chairman says system used by Ether following software update could trigger securities law. This is like a big fat I told you so that is extremely frustrating to me, guys. I've been screaming this from the rooftops for like 6 months. And it's almost like, you know what's really creepy? It's almost like, you know, when they say you manifest stuff, it almost feels like I just manifested this. Ethereum's big software update on Thursday may have turned the second largest cryptocurrency into a security in the eyes of the top US regulator. Well, why is this going to be nice and good? Well, if they can convince you that it's a security, then they can convince you that they deserve control over it, and then they can utilize it to manipulate and control the public. What if Ethereum itself really is the CBDC everybody wants, right? The global CBDC at this point, and there's nothing you can do about it. Securities and Exchange Commissioner Chairman Gary Gensler said Thursday that cryptocurrencies and intermediaries that allow holders to stake their coins might pass a key test used by courts to determine whether an asset is a security. Known as the Howey test, it examines whether investors expect to earn a return from the work of third parties. From the coin's perspective, that's another indica that under the Howey test, the investing public is anticipating profits based on the efforts of others, end quote, Mr. Gensler told reports after a congressional hearing. He said he wasn't referring to any specific cryptocurrency, but of course he's setting this up. We're getting set up. And it almost feels like the Ethereum devs are helping set us up. That's what it sounds like to me. Issuers of securities, a category of asset that includes stocks and bonds, are required to file extensive disclosures with the SEC under laws passed in the 1930s. Exchanges and brokers that facilitate the trading of securities must comply with strict rules designed to protect investors from conflicts of interest. Cryptocurrency issuers and trading platforms face strict liabilities if they sell any assets that are deemed to be securities by the SEC or courts. Staking is one of the two ways in which cryptocurrency networks verify transactions, used by some of the largest cryptocurrencies, including Solana, Cardano, and, as of this week, Ether. It allows investors to lock up their tokens for a specified amount of time to receive a return. If an intermediary, such as a crypto exchange, offers staking services to its customers, Mr. Gensler said it looks very similar, with some changes of labeling, to lending. End quote. The SEC has repeatedly signaled over the past year that firms offering crypto lending products need to be registered with the agency, and in February first forced BlockFi Lending to pay $100 million for failing to do so. Competition for jurisdiction over crypto is heating up among federal agencies and the congressional committees they answer to. As the Senate Agriculture Committee, which oversees the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, held a hearing Thursday to vet a crypto bill, the Senate Banking Committee, which oversees the SEC, held a simultaneous hearing for members to question Mr. Gensler. The crypto bill proposed by leaders of the agriculture group last month would specifically designate Bitcoin and Ether as digital commodities rather than securities. Under current law, such assets have no federal regulator. The bill would grant the CFTC, which oversees derivatives markets, authority to regulate digital commodities. Exchanges such as Coinbase and FTX would be required to register with the CFTC, monitor trading, protect investors from abuse, and only offer assets that are resistant to market manipulation, among other rules. They also would be obliged to disclose some information about the assets they list, such as operating structure and conflicts of interest. Consumer protection advocates worry that the CFTC lacks the resources and experience to look out for small investors in a market that Mr. Gensler has described as the Wild West. The CFTC's staffing is a fraction of the SEC's, and the markets it oversees are dominated by sophisticated hedge funds, banks, and companies, not individuals saving for retirement. To fund its oversight of the digital commodity market, the CFTC would need $112 million over the first 3 years of rulemaking, hiring, training, and outreach purposes, CFTC Chairman Rostin Benham said during the hearing. He said the amount would be generated from crypto companies in the form of a user fee. The agency has current annual budgets of $320 million, Mr. Benham added. While it doesn't communicate directly with the individual investors, Mr. Benham said the CFTC works closely with the National Futures Association and state regulators to ensure individuals and institutions within its jurisdiction are complying with the laws. The crypto industry has shown a strong preference to be regulated by the CFTC instead of this SEC, which has a rigorous disclosure regime that crypto lobbyists argue is expensive and impractical. Crypto firms have spent millions of dollars lobbying Congress for its interests. Before moving to proof of stake model this week, Ether previously relied on an alternate model known as proof of work, the model Bitcoin uses. The model is often criticized for its high energy use because miners commit massive amounts of computing power to the network. And ding, 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 here's where we get into the conspiracy theory. Throw your tinfoil hats on. White House comes out. They say, hey, we're going to look into basically banning proof of work mining. At the same time, they come out and say, hey, look at this. Basically proof of stake is a security. Slap it, bam, boom. We just destroyed the entire crypto market in 2 fail swoops. You are fucked. No way, no 2 ways about it. You can't do it this way and have it a commodity. Can't do it this way because it's a security. We will take control of it. We will seize control of it. The nation state will fully control the cryptocurrency, the blockchain, and in turn control you. And that is the end of the fucking story at this point. And I don't know what to do about it. The only way we can fight back is to continue to promote and support proof of work networks, to vote for the right people that are against basically the banning of proof of work mining, and call out the absolute ridiculousness of proof of stake being more energy efficient. And that is the only thing we can do. And we must be extremely vocal about it, and we must talk about the politics. If you are going to sit here and tell me not to talk about politics when this is happening right in front of our faces, you can straight up f*** off. Because this is literally the turning point for the entire world right now. Under the bill, the CFTC would be required to work with other regulators with expertise in the energy space to produce a report on the energy consumptions of crypto projects. The agency would make recommendations to either create a disclosure regime or incentives for firms to indirectly move away from proof of work to proof of stake or other methods to reduce energy consumption. There you go. It's like literally spelled out for you. Move away from proof of work, but if you move to proof of stake, you're a security, and you know what? We get to regulate you. That's it. And if you look at the policies, the fact is the Republican Party is pro proof of work right now. So, you can yell at me all day long, but if you look at the policies, Mr. Teddy Cruz is pro Bitcoin proof of work. You know what I mean? Who's not? Beto O'Rourke. You can try to tell me that that's not the case, but that's literally, you can go look up their policies and that's exactly the case. So at the end of the day, in the short term, when we're looking at elections here coming up in November, you gotta vote for the people that are supporting proof of work. And that's it, man. Yes, I'd love if the Libertarian Party had more support. But this is just the way it is right now.